Yes, Kate.
Something interesting, sir. We've just got Millicent Gentle's address from her publishers. She'd moved and they took some time to trace her. She's living at Riverside Cottage, Coldham Lane, near Cookham. I've looked it up. Coldham Lane runs almost opposite to the Black Swan. She must have given Sir Paul her book on August the 7th.
Seems likely. Ring her, Kate. Ask if she'll see us tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, I'll see you at Pembroke Lodge.
This alleged letter, Commander. Teresa Nolan was psychologically disturbed. Something written just before she killed herself couldn't possibly count as reliable evidence. Even if you have this letter, which I assume you haven't, we both know it would be worthless in a court of law.
Are you telling us, Mr. Lampard, that the girl's story is untrue?
To be charitable, let's say mistaken. Or possibly she, or perhaps Barone, were lying. But if this so-called letter is meant to give me a motive, it's absurd. I didn't kill Barone. Even if I were capable of such a brutal murder, I certainly wouldn't take Barone's wife with me and expect her to wait in the car while I slit her husband's throat. The whole idea is absurd.
And Teresa Nolan's belief about the abortion of healthy fetuses because they weren't the sex the mother wanted.
A total, unprovable fabrication, Inspector. All operations done here in Pembroke Lodge are fully recorded. The pathological reports are in the medical records, and I can assure you that there's nothing incriminating in any file in this building. The allegation is ridiculous.
But Paul Barone believed it. He got rid of his shares in Pembroke Lodge after Teresa Nolan's death. I think he spoke to you. I don't know what he said, but I can guess.
No, we never spoke. And assuming he did believe it, he'd have been in an odd position, morally speaking. He wanted a son and heir. He certainly didn't want another daughter. Nor, incidentally, did Barbara, who'd had one miscarriage, a female, 8 months after their marriage. So even assuming the story is true, although Barone couldn't stomach the means, he wouldn't have been displeased with the ends. No wonder he was a psychological mess.
So Teresa Nolan was onto something.
I'll be frank with you, Commander. If I had aborted those unwanted fetuses, it wouldn't weigh on my conscience. A woman has a right to choose whether she bears a child. I happen to think she also has a right to choose which sex. No child should be unwanted. And a 2-month fetus isn't a human being. It's a collection of tissue. In my book, we've the right to do anything we can to make human life more agreeable, safer, less full of pain.
Provided, presumably, we don't hurt other people and the act isn't illegal.
Getting rid of an unwanted fetus hurts no one.
But aborting a fetus that's not wanted because of its sex, that's certainly outside the law.
It was practically a confession, sir. He was justifying it.
But we'll never be able to use it in court. And it was a confession to medical malpractice, not murder.
Well, what about the murder, sir?
Oh, Lampard had means and motive, and he's got the knowledge and the arrogance to think he can get away with it.
But what about opportunity? He was at the Black Swan just after 8:30.
Yes. That water flowing from the vestry waste pipe at 8 o'clock. Are we being misled by that? If Barone had died at the earliest possible time...
At 7 o'clock, isn't it, sir?
That's right. What happens to Lampard's alibi then? Someone was responsible for the tap running in the church kitchen at 8 o'clock, but who? And whoever turned it on, did the same person turn it off? Tuesday morning couldn't have heralded a better day for a drive out of London. If Kate thought we'd drive straight to Riverside Cottage, I disappointed her. The road passed the Black Swan, and when we reached it, I stopped and turned into the car park. Opposite, and about 20 yards downstream, I could see a bungalow. This, I guessed, was our destination, and I knew, too, that that's where I'd find the clue I sought. As we looked, the dumpy figure of a woman came out of the side door and made her way to the landing stage, a dog trotting at her heels. She lowered herself into a dinghy, cast off, and began rowing across the river towards the Black Swan. You must be Miss Millicent Gentle. If so, we're on our way to see you. This is Inspector Kate Miskin.
Hello?
I'm Adam Dalgliesh.
I wasn't expecting you for another half hour, Commander. How pleasant to meet you like this. I'd row you across, but it would have to be one at a time, and that would be rather slow. I'm afraid it's 5 miles by road, but perhaps you have a car?
Indeed we do.
Then I'll be waiting for you. I'll see you in about 10 minutes.
When Miss Gentle opened her door to us, we walked into cheerfulness and light. The dog, Makepeace, slumped down in front of the empty stove and heaved a malodorous sigh. Miss Gentle poured us coffee.
How did you find me?
It was the book you autographed for him on the 7th of August.
Of course.
We need to know exactly what happened that night. You did see him?
Oh, yes. Let me explain. I get on very well with Mr. Jean-Paul Higgins, and having a big restaurant just across the river rarely bothers me. His customers are usually no trouble. But on that night there were young people shouting and screaming. I was trying to work, and it got very irritating. So I went out to the bank, and I could see that there were 4 of them in a punt. 2 of them were trying to change places, and they were rocking very dangerously. I tried to ring Mr. Higgins, but I couldn't get through. So Makepeace and I rowed across. I made for my usual spot, and as I turned the boat to draw up to the bank, I saw these 2 men.
Did you know who they were?
Not at the time. Afterwards, I knew one of them, Sir Paul Barone.
What were they doing, Miss Gentle?
Fighting. They didn't notice me, of course.
Who won?
Oh, Sir Paul. He landed what I think is called a hook to the jaw. The younger man fell. Then Sir Paul picked him up by the collar of his coat and his trousers and threw him into the river. He made quite a splash.
And then?
Sir Paul waded into the water and fished him out. He threw him down on the grass, said something, and walked upstream towards me. As he drew alongside, I popped up my head and said, "Good evening. I don't suppose you remember me, but we met last June at the Hertfordshire Conservative Fete. I'm Millicent Gentle."
What did he do?
He came over and shook hands. He was dripping wet, of course, but was as self-possessed as when we'd met at the fete. I said, "I saw the fight. You haven't killed him, have you?" He said, "No, I only wanted to." He was beginning to shiver, so I suggested he come back to the cottage and dry off. He said, "That's very kind of you, but I think I'd better move the car." I suggested he park it somewhere at the side of the road, and that I row him across. He disappeared and was back in a few minutes.
What happened to the other man?
I didn't wait to see. I knew he'd be all right. He wasn't alone, you see. He had a girl with him.
You're quite sure about that?
Quite sure. She came out of the bushes and watched when Sir Paul threw him into the river. I couldn't have missed her. She was quite naked.
This girl. Look. I have a photo. Do you recognise her?
Isn't that the girl who was drowned? Yes, it could have been her. I didn't see her face very clearly, I'm afraid. The light was very poor, and they must have been 40 yards away.
When Sir Paul flung this man into the water, what did she do?
Roared with laughter. When Sir Paul waded in to help him out, she sat on the bank, quite naked, helpless with laughter. The scene was quite bizarre. 2 men stumbling out of the river, and a naked girl sitting on the bank, roaring away.
So when Sir Paul had moved his car, you rowed him across. Could you still see the man and the girl?
No, the river bends slightly, but I could still hear the girl laughing as I rowed across. I had to go carefully. With Makepeace and a passenger, we were very low in the water.
The girl. How long did she go on laughing?
Until we were almost on the opposite bank. Then suddenly the laughing stopped.
Did you hear a cry? A splash?
No, nothing.
What happened then?
First, Sir Paul asked to use the telephone. I left him here and went into the kitchen. Then I suggested he have a hot bath. While he was in the bathroom, I put his clothes into the tumble-dryer. Oh, I'd given him my father's old dressing-gown to wear after his bath. So while we waited for his clothes to dry, we settled down in front of the fire and I made some hot cocoa. I told him about my work, and that's when I gave him a copy of my last book.
Have you spoken of this to any other person?
No one. I wouldn't have told you if you hadn't phoned, and he weren't dead.
Please continue to say nothing, Miss Gentle. It could be very important. I thought I knew why Barone had been on the riverbank. He'd arrived to join the dinner party, to greet his wife and Lampart, his wife's lover, to take part in a civilized charade. And then he'd heard the murmur of running water and had been drawn to a few moments of solitude and peace. So he'd wandered down to the river. Such a small thing, a simple impulse, and it had led him to that blood-drenched vestry. Dominic Swain, his wife's brother, had stepped out of the bushes. Did he already know that this was Teresa Nolan's lover, the father of her aborted child? Was this the one other secret that Teresa had confided to him in that final letter? Did he confront Swain with that knowledge? And when Sir Paul left you that night, that was the last time you saw him?
Oh, no. I saw him on the afternoon of his death. I thought you knew.
But, Miss Gentle, how could we have known?
I thought he'd have told someone where he was going. Is it important?
Very important, Miss Gentle.
Oh.
Tell us what happened.
There isn't much to tell. He arrived quite unexpectedly just before 3 o'clock. He was on foot and carrying a bag. He must have walked the 4 miles from the station. He said he felt like a walk along the river. He hadn't eaten, so I made him something, and then he set out for his walk. He returned about 4:30, and I made some tea. His shoes were very dirty, so I gave him my shoebox, and he sat outside on the steps and cleaned them. Then he took up his bag, said goodbye, and was on his way. It was as simple as that.
As simple as that. The lost hours accounted for. He'd wanted to spend a few hours where no one in the world could find him. And then he must have gone straight from Paddington to St. Matthew's Church. We'd have to check the train times, but it was most unlikely he could have gone back to the house, collected the diary, and still been at the church by 6.
It's a new motive, sir. Swain must have hated him. The thrashing, the humiliation, thrown in the river, dragged out like a dog, and all in front of Diana Travers.
Oh, yes, Swain must have hated him. So we had it at last. The motive not only for the murder, but for this particular murder with its mixture of planning and impulse, its brutality, the cleverness which hadn't quite been clever enough. I recognized the mind behind it. I'd met it before. The mind of a killer who isn't content to take a life but who avenges humiliation with humiliation, who wants his victim not only dead but disgraced. The mind of a man who has felt inferior all his life, but who will never feel inferior again.
Something of a surprise when Miss Emily Wharton suddenly appeared in Scotland Yard asking to see me. She completely lost touch with young Darren Wilkes and had come to me as a last resort. "I'm terribly sorry, Miss Wharton," I said, "but I don't see how we can help. The juvenile court has made a supervision order to the local authority. It's their concern now." "I know," she said. "That's what the social worker, Mrs. Kendrick, told me. But I thought you might be able to use your influence." "We have no influence, Miss Wharton, not in this." "Oh, please, Inspector, I'd be very careful. I wouldn't talk to him about the murder. Only I'd feel so much better if I could just see him again, just to know that he's all right." I thought for a moment. "I don't know where Darren's living, But I do remember his school, Bollington Road Junior. Do you know it? Oh, yes, she said. I can get there. You could try passing at the time they come out. If you met him accidentally, I don't see how social work could object to that. Greatly cheered, Miss Wharton said goodbye to me.
What happened shortly afterwards we learned only very much later. Miss Wharton had left the yard and was hesitating on the edge of the pavement when she heard someone say, "Excuse me, but aren't you Miss Wharton? I'm Dominic Swain, Sir Paul's brother-in-law. You've been to the yard, haven't you?" "So have I. I feel in need of some refreshment. Do join me." Before she knew it, Miss Wharton was sitting in the bar of a nearby hotel, sipping a medium sherry. Swain lifted his G&T. "Cheers. I'm in need of this after the grilling they gave me. I suppose they've been questioning you about the murders, too. Did they give you a bad time?" "Oh, no, it wasn't at all like that." And Miss Wharton explained the purpose of her visit, telling him all about Darren, how they'd visited the church regularly, and how they'd been the ones to find the body.
"You know," she said, a second sherry miraculously in her hand, "I had a feeling while Darren and I were sitting there in the church waiting to be interviewed that there was something the boy knew, something he was keeping back, something that he was feeling, well, perhaps a little guilty about." "You've told the police about this?" "Oh, no. It would sound so stupid. But the boy might have noticed something you didn't see. It was only a feeling I had. Perhaps I'll know more when I'm able to see him. I'm planning to meet him when he comes out of school. But he'll be with other children. He might be embarrassed to see you waiting there. Why not write him a note and ask him to meet you? Where did you usually meet?" "Oh, on the towpath. That's where we always met." "I could take him a note if you like," said Swain. "I'll give it to one of the other kids to deliver, or I'll ask one of them to point him out. Darren will get it, I promise. Look, let me write it for you. Suppose we make it Friday at 4 o'clock on the towpath. Would that be all right for you?" Yes, perfectly." Swain wrote quickly, folded the paper and put it in the envelope. "What's his surname?" "Wilkes. He's Darren Wilkes. And the school is Bollington Road Junior. It's near Lisson Grove." He wrote the address. Then they finished their drinks, and Swain insisted on summoning a taxi and paying the driver to take her home. After the taxi was out of sight, he took the message from the envelope and reread it. The time and place were exactly as he'd said, but the date wasn't Friday. It was the following afternoon, Thursday, and it wasn't Miss Wharton who'd be waiting on the towpath, but Swain himself.
What a fiasco, Kate. Swain just sits there, with his brief by his side, smiling. "I was with Miss Matlock all that evening. If you think otherwise, prove it."
"Yeah, he's a cool one."
"I think it's back to Miss Matlock. If we can't break him, we'll have to break her. We've simply got to overturn that alibi of his."
"More than that. We must find some physical evidence."
Well, the thing is that Swain's confident the evidence doesn't exist. He can see that our whole case is circumstantial. If we'd got something stronger, we'd have produced it by now, and he's actually saying what other people are thinking, that Barone got Teresa Nolan pregnant, rejected her, and killed himself, partly out of remorse, and partly because the dirt in Paternoster Review warned him that the scandal was about to break. My God, Kate. I hope the old man hasn't got it wrong.
"Dear Miskin." "All right. I'll come now."
What's the matter?
"It's my grandmother. She's been mugged. That was the hospital. They want me to collect her. I'll have to take the rest of the day off."
Can't they get someone else to cope?
"There is no one else."
Ah, Commander Dalgliesh. How kind of you to come.
Good evening, Father.
I just have to clear the offertory boxes. Not that I expect to find much. Some small change. Good gracious. 6 £1 coins. We never did as well as that before the murders. Come with me, Commander. There's just the box in front of the grill. Ah, Miss Wharton. Hard at work as usual? There's never as much in here.
Miss Wharton, who'd finished straightening the chairs in the lady chapel, came bustling up. "I don't expect there'll be more than 80p, she said. "I used to give Darren a 10p piece to light a candle, but really no one else uses this box. He loves stretching his hands out through the grill and striking the match. It's funny, but I'd forgotten about that until now. I suppose it was because he didn't have time to light the candle that dreadful morning. There it is, you see, still unlit."
Only 7 coins this time. And a button. Rather an unusual one. It looks like silver.
Miss Wharton peered closer. "That must have been Darren," she said. "How naughty of him. I remember now he bent down by the path. I thought he was picking a flower. It really was very wrong of him to steal from the church. Poor child, it must have weighed on his conscience. No wonder I thought he was feeling guilty about something. I'm hoping to see him tomorrow. I'll have a little word about it." And she bustled away. "May I see the button, Father?" And there at last it was, resting on my palm, the piece of physical evidence we'd been seeking. I'd seen just such buttons before. They were a feature of the Italian jacket that Dominic Swain had been wearing the first time we'd seen him. A single button, so small a thing, but so vital, and we had 2 witnesses to its finding. I stood looking at it, and there came over me a feeling not of excitement or triumph, but of immense weariness, of completion. "When was this box last cleared, Father?"
2 weeks ago. The morning of the day Sir Paul was murdered. I'm afraid I forgot to empty it last week.
"Father Barnes, I'm going to place this button in one of the envelopes from the little vestry. I'll then seal it and ask you to sign across the flap."
Of course. Then this button's important? It's a clue?
"Yes, it's a clue."
But do you suppose the owner will come looking for it?
"I don't think for one moment that he's missed it yet. I saw the owner wearing the jacket after the murder, and it seemed to have all its buttons. My guess is that this is the spare, originally sewn inside the jacket on a tag. It must have worked loose." It was Sarah Barone who let us in. Without speaking, she led us across the hall to the library. Lady Ursula and Barbara Barone were seated at the table, which was stacked with letters and documents. Barbara Barone was painting her nails, impervious to her surroundings. "Have you seen a button like this, Lady Ursula?"
Not to my knowledge. Looks as though it came from a man's jacket. Probably an expensive one.
"And you, Miss Barone?"
Let me see. No, it's not mine.
"That wasn't my question. I asked if you'd seen it or one like it."
If I have, I can't remember. I'm not very interested in clothes. Why not ask my stepmother?
Barbara Barone glanced up and denied ever having seen it. I knew she was lying, but not, I thought, through fear. For her, lying when in doubt was the easiest response, a way to postpone trouble. I turned to Lady Ursula and asked to speak to Miss Matlock. When Evelyn Matlock came in, she stood for a moment, her eyes fixed on Lady Ursula. Then she marched over to me and stood stiff as a soldier on a charge. "Miss Matlock, I'm going to ask you a question. Please think carefully before you answer, and then tell me the truth. Have you ever seen this button, or one like it? Come closer, look at it carefully. When did you last see a button like this?"
I've seen something like it. I can't remember where. There must be hundreds of similar buttons.
Try to remember. You've seen something like it. Where? In this house?
Are you Dominic Swain's mistress, Miss Matlock? Is that why you're shielding him? Because you are shielding him, aren't you? Is that how he paid you? A quick half-hour on your bed between his bath and his supper. He was getting it cheap, wasn't he, his alibi for murder?
Chief Inspector! Really, Commander, apart from being offensive, I find that suggestion ridiculous. It's grotesque.
Why is it ridiculous? Why is it grotesque? You can't bear to believe it, can you? You've had lovers enough in your time. Everyone knows that. You're notorious. Well, you're old now. crippled and ugly, and no one wants you, man or woman. And you can't bear to think that someone might want me. Well, he did, and he does. He loves me. We love each other. He cares. He knows what my life is like in this house. I'm tired, I'm overworked, and I hate you all. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? You thought I was grateful. Grateful for the job of washing you like a baby. Grateful for waiting on a woman too idle to pick up her own underclothes from the floor. Grateful for the worst bedroom in the house. Grateful for a home, a bed, a roof, the next meal. And you, all of you, you think of no one but yourselves. Do this, Matty. Fetch that, Matty. Run me bath, Matty. I do have a name. He calls me Evelyn. That's my name. I'm not a cat or a dog.
I didn't know you felt like this. I blame myself.
No, you don't. Those are just words. You've never blamed yourself for anything, not all your life. Yes, I did sleep with Dominic, and I shall again. He loves me, and I love him.
Don't be ridiculous. He was using you. He used you to get a free meal, hot bath, his clothes washed and ironed. And in the end, he used you to get an alibi for murder.
Barbara Barone had finished her manicure. Now she surveyed her finished nails with the pleased complacency of a child. Then she looked up and announced quite calmly that she had known all along that Dominic Swain had been Matty's lover. She went further. She said Swain had told her he was making love to Matty on Paul's bed at the very moment he was being killed.
He couldn't have told you. He wouldn't.
But Barbara Barone stuck to her guns. Swain had thought the whole thing would amuse her. She'd asked him how he could even bear to touch Matty. He said that he kept his mind on the hot bath water and the free meal. Evelyn Matlock had sunk down on one of the chairs, her face in her hands. After a few moments she looked up at me.
He did go out that night. He told me he wanted to talk to Sir Paul. He told me the door was open when he arrived and that they were dead. Both dead. That's what he said. Oh, God. Oh, God. I wish he killed me too.
Evelyn Matlock began crying, great sobs that seemed to tear her chest apart. Sarah Barone looked across at me.
But surely Dominic couldn't have done it. There wouldn't have been time to commit the murders and clean up afterwards. Not unless he went by car or bicycle, and Halliwell would have seen or heard him.
True, if Halliwell had been there, but he wasn't.
Halliwell spoke directly to me. He said that Lady Ursula had rung at 10 to 6 asking for the car. Once inside, she told him to drive to St. Matthew's Church, Paddington. When they arrived, Lady Ursula asked him to park outside the south door. She rang the bell, and Sir Paul answered. She went inside. About half an hour later she came back to the car and asked Halliwell to join them. That must have been about 7. Sir Paul was there with another man, a tramp. There was a sheet of paper on the table with some lines of handwriting. Sir Paul said he was about to sign his name and wanted Halliwell to witness his signature. Then he signed with his fountain pen, and Halliwell wrote his name underneath. The tramp did the same. When they'd signed, Sir Paul blotted the paper. Then the tramp went out through the door to the right of the fireplace, and Lady Ursula and Halliwell left.
So, Mr. Halliwell, you lied about being in your flat the whole of that evening?
I asked him to lie, Chief Inspector. What happened between me and my son in that vestry wasn't relevant to his death. My son was alive when I left him. I asked Halliwell to say nothing about our visit.
We'd almost forgotten Barbara Barone.
It isn't true. Dominic didn't do it. Can't you see? Matty's jealous because he never really cared for her. How could he? Look at her. And the family have always hated him and me. As for you, you never wanted him to marry me. I was never good enough for your precious sons, either of them. Well, This house is mine now, and I think it would be better if you left.
You think this house is yours? Allow me to correct you. What my son signed in the vestry that night was his will. You are adequately provided for, but this house, indeed all his property, is left to me, in trust for his unborn son. If that child does not survive, it comes to me. You see, Commander, I went to make sure that my son knew about the child and whether it was his, and to ask what he intended. I said, if she's carrying your child, I want to ensure that he's born safely, and I want to safeguard his future. If you should die tonight, she'll inherit everything, and your child will have Lampart as a stepfather. Is that what you want? Without speaking, he sat down at the table and wrote out the will. Just 8 lines. A reasonable income for his wife, and the rest in trust for the child.
Lady Ursula, you have lied consistently. You concealed vital information, knowing full well that you could be helping your son's butcher go free. But that wouldn't have mattered, would it? Not if your daughter-in-law produced an heir.
A legitimate heir, Commander.
Miss Matlock, Dominic Swain used the affection you had for him to make you lie for him. That was a betrayal. But what you felt for him, or he for you, that's your own business.
He did need me. He never had anyone else. It was love. It was. You once asked me whether I missed a box of matches from the kitchen. Well, I did. He must have taken the box with him when he left.
When he arrived that evening, did he go alone into any part of the house?
Only to take his toilet bag into the bathroom.
That means he could have gone into the study. When he came back, was he carrying anything?
Only his evening paper folded over.
Could he have been using it to conceal the diary from the study?
I suppose so.
I believe we're finished here.
Before you leave, Commander, I think you should know that a gun is missing from the study safe. It belonged to my elder son. And I think you can assume that Dominic Swain knows the combination of the safe. My son changed it 3 days before he died. He had the habit of noting the new combination in pencil on the last page of his diary until he was sure that he and I had memorized it. His practice was to circle the digits on next year's calendar. That was the page which I think you showed me, Commander, had been torn out.
I had left Father Barnes with thunder rumbling in the distance. He began locking the dark and empty church. He moved into the passage. Behind the grill was a young man, fair-haired, chisel in hand, and the collection box gaped open.
If you're looking for the button, my son, you've come too late. The police have found it. No, my son. Please!
From the moment I walked into the casualty department and saw my grandmother, small and frightened, I knew there was no longer any choice. I said, "It's all right, Gran. You're coming home with me." The next day was hectic. It was after 6 before I was free to set off to the supermarket. I needed enough food to leave ready for the next 3 days, for I certainly hoped I'd be able to get back to work the following morning. Suddenly the reality of the situation struck me. My Gran and I were locked together now until the old lady died. I let myself into the flat and, as always, turned the key in the security lock. The flat seemed unnaturally silent. Suddenly small facts came together, and even as my hand touched the handle of the closed sitting-room door, I knew with absolute certainty that something was wrong. He'd gagged her and tied her to one of the dining chairs with strips of white cloth. He himself stood behind her, eyes blazing, holding the gun with both hands, his arms stretched rigid. As our eyes met, he lowered the gun and placed it against Gran's head. "If you want any cooperation from me, take that gag off. I guarantee she'll make no noise."
Right, well, come and take it off yourself. But be careful.
Gran, Not a sound. If you do, he'll put it on again. Promise? OK. It'll be all right.
Now stand over there against the wall. That's right.
Why all this panic? You know we've got no real evidence.
Ah, but you have. See? This is where my spare button used to be. Pity these buttons are so distinctive. That's what comes from having expensive tastes.
How did you find out about that?
From the boy who picked it up outside the church, the morning after the murders. Young Darren. I met him. He told me.
Where is he? What have you done to him?
Nothing. But he told me about the button and where he put it, so all I had to do was get it back. And after that, the boy would be harmless.
But a single button? That's not enough to convict you. Look, don't be a fool. Hand over the gun, go home and call your lawyer.
I don't think I can do that. Not now. You see, there's this damned officious priest. Or rather, there was.
You killed Father Barnes.
Shot him. So you see, I haven't anything to lose.
So what's the plan?
I'm getting out. Spain. There's a boat at Chichester Harbour. She belongs to my sister's lover, in case you're interested. You're going to drive me there.
Oh, for God's sake, it's a rush hour. It's idiocy to risk getting stuck in traffic with every motorist peering into the car. He considered for a moment and then agreed to wait for an hour. I said, look, I've got to ring my boyfriend. He's coming to supper at 8. If he finds the flat empty, he'll know something's wrong. He'll check the car, then he'll ring the yard. I've got to put him off. He was silent, considering. Then he agreed. Alan? It's Kate. Tonight's off. No, don't ring back. Just come tomorrow if you feel like it. And Alan, remember to bring me that book you promised. The Shakespeare, Love's Labour's Lost, for crying out loud. See you tomorrow. And remember the Shakespeare. That's okay, you'll keep away.
He'd better. Now make us something to eat while we wait.
We'll omelettes do. I've plenty of eggs.
Well, get on with it.
He ushered us into the kitchen and got Gran onto a chair and bound her in, still pointing the gun at her head. I thought I might as well ask him about the murders. They always want to talk about it. I asked first about Teresa Nolan.
I didn't kill her. She killed herself.
Because you made her abort your child?
Well, she could hardly expect to have it, could she? Anyway, how are you so sure it was mine? If Barone didn't sleep with her, he wanted to. Why else would he have thrown me into the river? Who did he think he was? He was going to leave my sister for his dreary whore, or for his god. He humiliated me in front of Diana. Well, he chose the wrong man. Before I left the house that morning, he told Evelyn where he'd be spending the night. I took his bike, and when I got there, he let me in. Odd that. He knew I was coming. He was expecting me, and he wanted to die, God rot him. He could have tried to stop me, pleaded, argued, please. That's all I wanted from him. The priest could say it, but not Paul Barone. He looked at me with such contempt. I wouldn't have done it, not if he'd have spoken to me. Christ, why didn't he stop me?
And Diana Travers? Did you kill her too?
Oh, I didn't need to. The weeds did it for me. She dived and didn't come up. Damned if I was going to rescue her. She laughed at me. I whirled round and flung myself at him. The shot shattered the air. An instant later there was a second explosion and the door of the flat burst open. And then I saw A.D. coming towards me, speaking my name, willing me to keep my eyes on him. Sobbing wildly, I buried my head against A.D.'s jacket. Then I pulled away, fighting for control. And over A.D.'s shoulder I saw Swain, handcuffed, being dragged out. He jerked his head at my Gran's body. Well, you're free of her now. Aren't you going to thank me? Aren't you?
I'll never know whether I wanted it to happen. Her death, I mean. You heard what Swain called out. Aren't you going to thank me? He knew.
Of course you didn't want it to happen, Kate. We all feel partly responsible when we lose someone we love. It's natural guilt, but it isn't rational. You didn't kill your grandmother, Swain did. His final victim. But with murder there never is a final victim. No one touched by Paul Barone's death will remain unchanged, myself included. Kate knew that perfectly well. But she's tough. She'll learn to bear her personal load of guilt, just as I've learned to carry mine. Yes. Some can gaze and not be sick, but I could never learn the trick. There's this to say for blood and breath: they give a man a taste for death.
On November the 21st, the day of her 47th birthday, and 3 weeks and 2 days before she was murdered, Rhoda Gradwin went to Harley Street to keep a first appointment with her plastic surgeon, George Chandler Pole.
About this trauma on your cheek, Miss Gradwin, when did it happen?
34 years ago.
You've borne this scar on your face since you were 13. What caused it?
Is that something you need to know?
Not unless it was self-inflicted. I assume it wasn't.
It was not.
A drunken bully of a father, a frightened and ineffective mother, and one night of exceptional violence had been permanently imprinted on the girl's face. No visit to the doctor followed her father's attack on her with a broken bottle. No truthful explanation ever given to anyone. Finding out what others kept hidden, probing into other people's secrets, became a lifelong obsession. As an investigative journalist, she became increasingly successful.
And you've waited 34 years to do something about this. Why now, Miss Gradwin?
Because I no longer have need of it.
I don't quite... Tell me, what are you expecting from this operation?
I'd like the scar to disappear, but I presume that's impossible. I suppose what I'm hoping for is a thin line, not this.
Well, no promises, mind, but we might do even better than that. Now, I have private beds at St. Angela's, or if you'd prefer to be out of London, you could come to Cheverel Manor, my clinic in Dorset.
I prefer to be out of London.
Cheverel was where Chandler Pole felt most at home. It was where he could indulge his two passions, his work and his house.
Make it brief, Marcus. It's been a long day.
It's about Africa. I wanted you to know I've come to a decision. I will be joining Mr. Greenfield's team. I'd be grateful if you could release me in 3 months' time.
Take it you've been up to London and spoken to him?
Yes, he seems to want me.
Really? Matthew Greenfield is probably among the 6 best plastic surgeons in the world. He goes to Africa to teach and to set up a centre of excellence. What exactly do you think you're offering, Marcus?
Well,
I take it you've told your sister.
We've discussed it.
Poor Candace. She'll have lost both her father and her brother in the space of a year. Has your father's death anything to do with this?
Well, it's freed us to make our own decisions about our lives, and she's all in favour. Oh, and there's one other thing we agree on.
What's that?
It's about a patient. Rhoda Gradwin. I gather we'll be operating on her here at the Manor shortly.
What about her?
We were wondering whether you really want to encourage investigative journalists here. Can't you just see the sort of thing they'll write? Rich women squander valuable operating time, waste of leading surgeons' talent. We don't need that sort of publicity.
But Rhoda Gradwin needs what we can provide. If Candace doesn't like her, she need have nothing to do with her. The patients aren't her concern.
Chandler Pole hadn't intended to spend this Wednesday embroiled in arguments with either Marcus Westall or his sister, but now that a decision had been made, he thought it would be as well to see what Candace had in mind. He left the manor and in the fitful winter sunshine walked up the lane to Stone Cottage. Approaching, he saw a dirty sports car parked next door outside Rose Cottage. So the Westhalls' cousin, Robin Boyton, was visiting. Boyton tended to book the cottage at short notice. He couldn't help thinking how different Stone Cottage looked since Candace and her father had arrived some 2.5 years before. She was an assiduous gardener, and gardening had been one legitimate excuse for getting away from her father's bedside during the long months that she'd nursed him. Chandler Pole found her raking the back lawn.
Ah, there you are.
Good morning, George. I think I know why you've come. I was just going to break for coffee. Come into the cottage, will you? It's about Marcus, isn't it?
He says you agree with this African decision.
It's time he left, George. I can see it's inconvenient for you, and we're both sorry about that, but you'll find someone else. You must have a replacement in mind.
That's not what concerns me. It's what Marcus proposes to do with the rest of his life. He can hardly stay permanently in Africa. But if he comes back in a year or two, what will he come back to? This gap will have done nothing for his career.
He's prepared to let life take its course. And now that probate's been granted for Father's will, neither of us has to worry about money for the rest of our lives.
Will you stay on here for a time? I know Helena will be glad of help. She can't run the manor single-handed.
I'd be happy to stay on for a while. George, there's one other thing. You've got Rhoda Gradwin coming here soon for an operation. She's a dangerous woman.
Dangerous? In what way? To whom?
You must know something of her reputation. She's an investigative journalist, one of the worst kind. She sniffs out gossip like a pig with truffles. She makes it her job to discover things about other people which give them distress or pain or worse. She sells secrets for money. George, tell her there's been a double booking. Tell her you'll operate in St. Angela's.
What on earth is all this about, Candace? You're usually so rational. This seems close to paranoia.
It's just that I doubt if patients who come here for privacy would be delighted to find themselves in the company of a notorious journalist. You won't intervene? No need to worry. I'll have nothing to do with Rhoda Gradwin. I'm not proposing to take a kitchen knife to her. Frankly, she's not worth it.
Robin Boyton was waiting, as always, at his favourite table by the door, which, as always, Rhoda had booked for them.
Darling. Hello. Lovely to see you, Rhoda. How did you get on with the great George?
Oh, he seemed competent. I'll be having the operation at Cheverel Manor.
In that case, I think I'll visit you while you're in residence. You'll welcome a gossip.
No, Robin, I won't welcome a gossip. I chose the manor specifically to ensure that I'll be left alone.
Well, I do think that's rather grudging of you, considering I recommended the manor to you in the first place. And George Chandler Pole, come to that.
I'd already heard of Chandler Pole. He's one of the best plastic surgeons in Europe. But you know, Robin, I've never been quite clear about your connection to the manor. You stay there from time to time, don't you? Aren't you some kind of relation?
Not of Chandler Pole. His surgical assistant, Marcus Westall, is my cousin. There are 2 cottages in the grounds. Marcus lives in one of them with his sister Candace. She helps to run the manor.
Oh.
I'm their only living relative. You'd have thought that would mean something to them.
And it doesn't?
Let me give you a little family history.
Rhoda was happy to settle back and listen. Anything she could learn about Cheverel Manor would be useful. To arrive anywhere unbriefed was to put oneself at a disadvantage. Robin explained that his Uncle Peregrine, who died 9 months previously, had left his cousins Marcus and Candace about £8 million between them. Peregrine Westall had inherited the family fortune from his own father, who died only a few weeks before him.
2 deaths so close together. The death duties must have been horrendous.
But old grandfather Theodore had thought of that. He set up some form of insurance years before. Anyway, the money's all there, and passed down to my Uncle Peregrine, and now my cousins will pocket the lot.
And you'd like a part of it?
Well, I deserve a part of it. Grandfather Theodore Westall had 2 children, Peregrine and Sophie. Sophie was my mother. Trouble was, my grandfather never approved of Sophie's marriage. He cut the Boytons off from the family.
And your father? Where is he?
I haven't the faintest idea. He emigrated to Australia when I won my scholarship to drama school. Look, some of that family money should be mine. It's simple justice. Those 2 now have more than enough cash. It wouldn't hurt them to show a little generosity. That's why I visit. I like to remind them that I exist.
Robin, I've just thought of something. How long was it that Peregrine survived his father?
35 days.
Really? Well, your cousins must have had a pretty anxious time for a while. There's a clause in all wills saying you've got to survive 28 days after the death of the testator if you're to inherit.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. So I imagine they took good care to keep their father alive during the month after Theodore's death. Not to say nothing of those extra days. But just think, Robin. Was he really alive? Perhaps he died at some point and they popped him into a freezer and then produced him nice and fresh when required. There's a classic crime novel with that as the plot.
Robin Boyton was silent, and she saw that he poured the wine as if his thoughts were elsewhere. She thought with amusement and some concern, "My God, is he taking this nonsense seriously?" Boyton looked across at her.
Candace was nursing her father at home. It could have happened.
Rhoda Gradwin went to the window in her bedroom at Cheverel Manor. Below stretched a lime avenue, which led to a low stone wall, and beyond it a small circle of stones, crude misshapen lumps around a central taller stone. They must, she thought, be prehistoric. As she gazed, her ears caught the soft closing of her sitting-room door. Tea had arrived. She turned and saw, with a small shock of surprise, that a young woman had entered.
"I brought you tea, madam."
She was a slight figure, wearing a blue checked dress with a shapeless fawn cardigan over it.
Who are you?
My name's Sharon. Sharon Bateman. I help in the kitchen. I left the tray in the sitting room. Do you want it in here?
Well, leave it to brew for a couple of minutes. I've been looking at the stone circle out there.
Oh, the Cheverel stones, madam. They're quite famous. Miss Cressit, she runs the manor. She says they're over 3,000 years old. But no one from the village goes to the stones after dark. They're haunted. They're scared of seeing the ghost of Mary Kite walking and watching.
Who's Mary Kite?
She was tied to the middle stone and burnt there in 16-something or other. She was condemned as a witch. You can still see the brown patch where the fire was.
What?
They say that on the date of her death, her screams can be heard as far as the church. She cursed the village as she was burnt, and afterwards nearly all the children died.
Oh, you surely don't believe all that nonsense.
So you don't think the spirits of the dead can come back to visit us?
The dead don't return to visit us, either as spirits, whatever that means, or in any other form.
Oh, but the dead are here. Mary Kite isn't at rest. How could she be? She was only 20 when they burnt her. And the portraits in this house, all those dead faces. I know they don't want me here.
That's ridiculous. They're dead. They're beyond thought. And Mary Kite is dead. She can't come back.
Rhoda Gradwin slowly drifted back to consciousness. She became aware that she was lying on a bed in an unfamiliar room, and that other people were with her, moving like pale shadows on silent feet. And then she remembered. She looked up and tried to form words from her impeded mouth.
How did it go? Are you pleased?
It went very well. I hope that shortly you'll be pleased too. Now you must rest here a while, and then Sister will wheel you up to your room.
Closing her eyes and drifting into sleep, she thought of the peaceful night ahead, and of the morning, which she would never live to see. With the operation on Rhoda Gradwin satisfactorily completed, George Chandler Pole was alone in his private sitting-room. It was a solitude he often sought at the end of an operating day. He had enjoyed a light supper and was putting the first CD into the player when there was a knock on the door. He felt an irritation close to anger. Very few people disturbed him in his private sitting-room. Before he could answer, the door opened and Flavia Holland, his theatre sister, came in. Still in uniform, she shut the door sharply behind her and leaned against it.
Miss Gradwin, is she all right?
Of course she's all right. If she weren't, would I be here? I've left Nurse Fraser in charge until I return. Anyway, I'm not here to discuss Rhoda Gradwin.
If it's not urgent, Flavia, can't it wait until tomorrow?
No, George, it can't. Not until tomorrow, nor the day after, nor the day after that. Not until any day when you condescend to find time to listen.
Will it take much time?
More time than you're usually willing to give.
Oh, I'll get my jacket. We'll walk under the limes.
In the dark. Can't we talk here?
We'll talk outside. I suspect the discussion will be disagreeable, and I'd prefer a disagreeable conversation to take place outside this room. You'd, better get a coat. I'll see you at the door.
We can't go on as we are. We have to make a decision. George, I'm asking you to marry me.
I'm afraid that isn't possible.
Of course it's possible. You're divorced. I'm single.
I meant our relationship has never been on that footing.
Well, what footing exactly did you think it was on? When we became lovers, and that was 8 years ago, let me remind you. What footing was it on then?
Sexual attraction, respect, affection. I never said I loved you, Flavia. I never mentioned marriage. I wasn't looking for marriage. One failure is enough.
Always honest, always careful. You couldn't even give me fidelity, could you? Do you think I didn't know how many avaricious little gold diggers have tried to get their claws into you? But did you ever consider what I was feeling? For me, it's been 8 years of commitment.
Flavia, I'm sorry. I had no idea you felt like this.
I'm not asking for pity. I'm not even asking for love. You haven't got it to give. I'm asking for justice. I want marriage, the status of being a wife, the hope of children. I'm 36. I don't want to work until I retire.
It isn't too late. You're very attractive, and you're still young. It's sensible to recognize when a stage of life has ended, when it's time to move on.
So you mean to throw me over?
To move on.
And you won't marry me?
I will not. Flavia, accept it. This is the end.
Don't think the people here don't know we're lovers. Marcus and Candace, Helena, even the Bostocks in the kitchen. They're all probably wondering when you're going to chuck me. Well, I'm damned if I'll stay here to endure their pity. You leave in a few days for the Christmas break. When you return, I won't be here.
As you wish.
But, George, promise me one thing. I've never asked for anything, have I? But I do ask this one thing. Come to me tonight. Come to my room. It's the first and last time I ask, I promise. Come late, about 11. It can't end like this.
Of course I'll come.
Rhoda stirred into drowsy wakefulness. She lay for a few seconds, motionless in that brief confusion which attends the sudden awakening from sleep. Gazing at the window, she could see that the room was darker than the night outside. The wind was gusting strongly. She could hear its hiss in the chimney. Then, in a lull in the wind, she heard a sound so faint that only the stillness of the room could have made it audible. She sensed, rather than felt, a presence moving around the sitting-room. Early morning tea? And now someone was closing the bedroom door. No one spoke. No light was turned on. Curiosity gave way to the first cold clutch of unease.
Who are you? What are you doing? Who is it?
There was no reply, and now she knew with certainty that this was no friendly visitor, that she was in the presence of someone or something whose purpose was malignant. As she lay rigid, the pale figure, white-clad and masked, was at her bedside. Arms moved above her head in a ritual gesture, like an obscene parody of a benediction. She struggled to get out of bed, but found herself unable to move. The white-clothed figure looked down on her. She heard words quietly spoken, but she could make no sense of them. She knew that this was death, and with the knowledge came an unsought peace, a letting go. And then the strong hand, skinless and inhuman, closed around her throat, forcing her head back against the pillows, and the apparition flung its weight forward. She wouldn't shut her eyes in the face of death, nor did she struggle. The darkness of the room closed in on her, and became the final darkness in which all feeling ceased. To meet a future father-in-law for the first time is a situation not free from misgivings. At 10:30 on the Saturday of Rhoda Gradwin's death, Commander Adam Dalgliesh, accompanied by his fiancée Emma Lavenham, was knocking on the door of 27 Calverton Mansions, one of Marylebone's blocks of spacious Edwardian flats.
Professor Lavenham, warned that we'd come especially to inform him that we intended to marry, greeted us with kindness, if not exactly enthusiasm, and I was subjected to a somewhat old-fashioned interrogation about my circumstances and prospects. I'd just about convinced him that I was able to provide for Emma in the manner to which he was accustomed when, somewhat to Professor Lavenham's irritation, we were interrupted by my mobile. It was Geoffrey Harkness, the Assistant Commissioner of the Met.
A case for the squad, Adam. The address is Cheverel Manor in Dorset, some 10 miles west of Poole. It's a clinic-cum-nursing home run by a cosmetic surgeon, George Chandler Pole. One of his patients is dead, a Rhoda Gradwin, strangled, apparently.
Why the squad, Geoffrey? Can't the local force take it on?
Well, number 10 has asked for you. They say this is a matter of particular sensitivity, just the sort of case the squad was set up for. The Chief Constable down there is reasonably happy about it. He'll provide the soccos and the photographer.
What about the pathologist?
Edith Glenister is free. You had her for the Coombe Island murder, remember?
I'm hardly likely to forget. How about an incident room and some backup?
Well, the local force have a cottage some 100 yards or so from the manor that you can use. There's a B&B further down the road, so I suppose your two aides can make themselves comfortable there. Chief Inspector Keith Whetstone from the local force will meet you at the scene. Do you want me to do anything more this end?
No, I'll contact Inspector Miskin and Sergeant Benton Smith. I'll be in touch.
For Detective Inspector Kate Miskin, her flat on the north bank of the Thames was a celebration of achievement. Paying the mortgage in the first few years had meant sacrifices, but she'd never lost that first excitement of walking through rooms full of light, of waking and falling asleep to the never-ending pulsation of the Thames.
It couldn't be more different from those claustrophobic rooms on the 7th floor of Ellison Fairweather buildings where I'd been brought up by my grandma. From the smell, the vandalised lifts, the overturned rubbish bins. What a childhood. But now I had my flat, a job I loved and was good at, and until 6 months ago there'd been Piers Tarrant. We'd been so close to love, but I'd ended it. It was quite simple. I just couldn't tolerate having a partner who was unfaithful. For him, it'd been nothing, a passing incident. Look, Kate, it's unimportant. It didn't mean anything. She doesn't mean a thing to me. I know, that's what I object to. If that's how you want to live, that's your affair. I'm simply telling you that I don't want to have sex with a man who's sleeping with other women. And so he disappeared from my life. Which is not to say that I didn't miss him.
The call came at 10:50 on her dedicated mobile, and Kate knew whose voice she would hear. She listened closely. The victim, a journalist, apparently strangled. The place, a clinic in Dorset. He gave the address. No explanation of why the squad were taking over, but apparently number 10 were involved. They were to travel by car, either hers or Benton's, and the team would aim to arrive together.
Yes, sir. I'll ring Benton now. I think we'll take his car. Mine's due for a service.
Right. I need to call in at the yard, Kate. I'll meet you at Benton's place in Shepherd's Bush. I hope to be there by the time you arrive. It was a good day for a drive into the country. The sort of day I'd take my time, parking occasionally to gaze at the great trees stripped for winter, and the dark intricacies of the high twigs patterned against a cloudless sky. But today we had to make haste. Once free of the London traffic, we made good time, and 3 hours later we were drawing up in front of 2 wrought iron gates. Beyond them stretched an avenue of trees. Inside the gates, an elderly man, wrapped in a long overcoat, was sitting reading a newspaper. He folded it carefully, then advanced to open the high gates. I drove through, followed by Kate and Benton. At the front door of Cheverel Manor, as we were pulling our murder bags, laptops and briefcases out of the cars, the door of the great porch opened and a man emerged. Closing the door behind him, he walked towards us.
Commander Dalgliesh? Uh-huh. Chief Inspector Keith Whetstone. You've made good time, sir.
How do you do? Inspector Kate Miskin?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Sergeant Francis Benton Smith.
You.
Everything organised?
The Chief's arranged for a couple of soccos to be here shortly, and the photographer's on his way. Do you know why the Met are taking this case, sir?
Afraid not.
I know the Chief Constable thought it a bit odd, but we're not looking for work. Incidentally, the Yard said you could do with a DC, so I'm leaving you Malcolm Warren. Bit on the quiet side, but bright enough, and he knows when to keep his mouth shut.
Quiet, reliable and discreet. I've no quarrel with that. Where is he now?
He's outside the bedroom, guarding the body. Most of the household are waiting for you in the Great Hall. There's George Chandler Pole, who owns the place, his assistant, Marcus Westall, he's a surgeon. Then there's his sister, Candice Westall, she helps in the office. Flavia Holland, she's the chief nurse. Helena Cresset, who's a kind of general administrator. And Letitia Frensham, who does the accounts.
An impressive feat of memory, Chief Inspector.
Well, not really, sir. Most people hereabouts know who's at the manor.
Has the pathologist arrived?
About an hour ago, sir. She's also in the hall. Well, you'd better all come this way.
As we approached the porch, the door opened, as if someone had been watching to time exactly our moment of arrival. There could be no doubt about the identity of the man who moved to one side as we entered.
George Chandler Pole. The rest of us are in the Great Hall. Do come in.
We followed him through the porch and to a door to the left of the square entrance hall. Chandler Pole opened it. The 5 people who were waiting on each side of the fire, their faces turned towards him, looked like a tableau. Introductions were quickly made.
Marcus Westall, Candice Westall, Flavia Holland, Helena Cresset, Letitia Frensham. And I understand you already know Dr. Glenister.
Commander Dalgliesh and I are old colleagues. Well, shall we get started? The victims waited long enough. Mr. Chandler Pole, would you please lead the way?
Kate Miskin, Sergeant Benton and I had driven down to Dorset, and Chandler Pole had introduced us briefly to his staff. The pathologist, Dr. Glenister, had already arrived, and we followed Chandler Pole up to a corridor on the 2nd floor. There was no need to point out which room Rhoda Gradwin had occupied. A uniformed policeman seated at the door sprang up smartly as we appeared and saluted. I peeled the adhesive tape away from the door and we entered the sitting room. Once inside, we saw that the door to the bedroom was closed. Chandler Pole pushed it gently open. A tray lay behind it, the cups broken and the teapot, its lid detached, on its side. The dark stain of tea splattered the carpet. The bedroom was in darkness.
Things are exactly as I found them. No one has entered this room since Sister and I left.
I switched on the light at the door, and I saw that the cord with its red call button had been looped high above the bed. We approached the body. Rhoda Gradwin was lying on her back, her 2 arms raised awkwardly above her head as if in a gesture of theatrical surprise. The left side of her face was covered by a taped surgical dressing. The cause of death was evident.
She was strangled by a right-handed grip. The hand was probably in a smooth glove. See, there's bruising, but no nail scratches. I'll know more when I have her on the table. One thing, Mr. Chandler Pole, I think the lab will find it useful to have a list of all the drugs you keep in the dispensary here.
I'll get that for you.
Thank you. I'd like a few minutes with you alone shortly, Mr. Chandler Pole. I need to get an idea of the layout here and details of the staff.
I'll be in the general office. That's inside the porch. I'll look out a plan of the manor for you.
Thank you. Can you estimate time of death yet, Dr. Glenister?
Based on the hypostasis and the present development of rigor mortis, I'd say she died between 11 and 12:30 last night. Probably earlier rather than later.
Thank you. Benton, the photographer and the Sockos will be here shortly. You stay and cope with them. Kate, come with me.
Sir?
You heard Dr. Glenister. The murderer was probably wearing some sort of glove.
A smooth glove, sir.
Yes. I presume you have a stock of surgical gloves, Mr. Chandler Pole?
Well, we have two types on the premises. The ones used for operations are stored in the operating suite, and that's kept locked. Disposable latex gloves are used by the nursing and household staff. They're kept in the housemaid's cupboard on the ground floor close to the kitchen. We don't monitor their use.
So all the staff at the manor would know there were latex gloves in the housemaid's cupboard. But no outsider would know unless told. So chances are an insider must be involved in this murder, one way or another.
I have Rhoda Gradwin's file here. She gave her mother as next of kin. I've already provided Chief Inspector Whetstone with the name and address. Now, one other patient spent the night here, Mrs. Laura Skeffington. She was in the room next to Miss Gradwin, and she claims she saw lights in the grounds during the night. She's frightened and shocked. I left her in the library with Letitia.
That's the person who does your accounts?
Letitia Frensham, that's right. Mrs. Skeffington has her suitcases with her ready to leave. She wants to get away as soon as possible.
Then we'd better talk to her at once.
I'll lead the way. Mrs. Skeffington, this
At
is...
last! I thought you'd never arrive. I've been sitting here for hours waiting for someone to come. The Rose is outside. Robert, our chauffeur, will need to get back. I can't stay here. I want to go home.
Just a few moments, Mrs. Skeffington. We shan't detain you a second longer than necessary.
Ah, Commander Dalgliesh, isn't it? I'm so glad you've come. Stuart said that you would. He told me not to worry. He'd get the best.
So that was why we were here. The Skeffingtons obviously had connections, and at the highest level. That's why the request came from number 10. Without turning my head, I couldn't resist a glance at A.D. No one was better at concealing anger, but I noted the passing flush across his forehead, the coldness of his eyes. I'll bet Emma's never seen that look. There are areas of his life which I share, but which are closed forever to Emma Lavenham. She knows the poet and the lover, but not the detective, the police officer. Letitia Frensham murmured a goodbye and left. A.D. seated himself in the chair she'd vacated. I stood by the door and took notes.
This is Detective Inspector Miskin.
Hello.
Now, Mrs. Skeffington, would you be kind enough to tell us exactly what has happened to you since you got here?
But there's nothing to tell. I arrived yesterday afternoon.
Mrs. Skeffington's operation was scheduled for this morning.
Mr. Marcus Westall, Sister Holland and Miss Cresset met me in the hall and I had a cup of tea with them. I knew I'd have to be up fairly early, so I went to my room and watched television until about 10 o'clock. Then I went to bed.
And what happened in the night?
Well, I slept for a while and then I woke, needing to go to the bathroom.
What time was that?
20 to 12. I looked at my watch. It was then I heard the lift. Just the gentle clang of the door and a sort of purring as it went down. Before going back to bed, I went over to open the window a little wider. It was then I saw this light among the Cheverel stones.
What kind of light?
A small light, moving among the stones. It flickered and then it disappeared. I felt, well, frightened. I don't believe in ghosts, of course, but I remembered the witch who was burnt there and how the stones are said to be haunted. It was eerie, horrible, really. Suddenly I wanted company, someone to talk to. I thought of the patient next door, but when I opened the door into the corridor, I realised I wasn't being, well, considerate, I suppose. After all, it was nearly midnight. She was probably asleep.
So I went back inside and rang for tea. Kimberly Bostock brought it up.
Did you tell her about the light?
Yes, I did. We spoke for a bit, but she didn't stay long.
You didn't think of waking Sister Holland?
She'd probably have thought I was being foolish. And anyway, it wasn't as if I needed anything. And now, Commander Dalgliesh, I want to go home. I've told you everything I know. Please, may I go now?
By the time we'd returned to the scene of the crime, Rhoda Gradwin's body had been removed. We opened our murder bags and put on our search gloves. Miss Gradwin's handbag, made of green leather with a silver clasp, was obviously a designer model. In the pocket made for it, I found her mobile phone. She'd clearly not wanted to take any calls. Switching it on, I checked for calls and messages. Old text messages had been deleted, but there was a new one listed as from Robin. It read, "Something very important has cropped up. I need to consult you. Please see me. Please don't shut me out."
We'll need to identify the sender, but that can wait. Now, Dr. Glenister said the killer was wearing gloves. He or she would want to get rid of them as quickly as possible. They could have been cut up and disposed of down one of the loos. It's worth a look.
We were lucky. In the bathroom of the suite at the far end of the corridor, we found a minute fragment of latex, fragile as a piece of human skin, caught under the rim of the lavatory bowl. A.D. carefully detached it with tweezers and placed it in an evidence bag. Then he closed it, and he and I scribbled our initials over the seal.
We'll let the Sockos know about this find when they arrive. And now I'd better phone Miss Gradwin's mother.
Whetstone told me that he'd arranged for someone from the local force to visit her.
In that case, we'll get on with the group interviews. I'll see you and Benton in the library.
Sir.
The household was assembled and waiting with Kate and Benton when I entered the library with George Chandler Pole. Marcus Westall had distanced himself from his sister, who was seated on a chair by the window. Sharon Bateman sat bolt upright a few feet away from her. Perhaps in medical solidarity, Westall had placed himself next to Sister Flavia Holland. Helena Cresset, in one of the armchairs by the fire, sat upright, hands resting loosely on the chair arms. Beside her stood the elderly man who'd opened the gates for us, the only one on his feet. Dean and Kimberly Bostock, who ran the kitchen, were seated rigidly on the only sofa. As we entered, I saw Kimberly surreptitiously slide her hand into her husband's. Mrs. Frensham had taken a chair beside one of the windows, and from time to time glanced out, as if to reassure herself that there was a world, fresh and comfortingly normal, outside this air made sour by fear and tension.
I think you've all met Commander Dalgliesh, Detective Inspector Miskin, and Detective Sergeant Benton Smith. I just want to say that what happened here last night has appalled all of us. It's now our duty to cooperate fully with the police in their investigation.
But, George, what about the press, TV? They'll all be knocking on our door.
Don't worry, Marcus. I'm arranging for all media inquiries to be handled by experts. So, I'm asking you all not to speak to anyone outside these walls, at least for the present. Commander Dalgliesh, would you like to take over?
Thank you. The idea of calling you all together is to get a group picture of exactly what happened to Rhoda Gradwin from the moment she arrived here until the discovery of her body. I shall, of course, need to speak to you separately, but I hope we'll be able to make some progress in the next half hour or so.
The silence was broken by Helena Cresset. She didn't say, "For God's sake, let's get on with it," but the message was clear. The first person to see Miss Gradwin, she said, was Mogworthy here, who opened the gate for her. Sister Holland, Mr. Westall and I were waiting for her in the great hall. Mogworthy confirmed that she'd arrived on time on Thursday evening, more or less. A.D. asked him if he'd gone into the manor with her, perhaps to carry a bag up to her room. He was adamant that he hadn't entered the manor then or at any time afterwards. But he'd saved the best till last. When A.D. asked if he'd seen or heard anything unusual, he gave a smirk of sly satisfaction. Just before midnight, cycling home after his usual Friday fish and chips with a neighbour, he'd seen a car parked in the lay-by near the stones. This was news to them all, as no doubt Mogworthy had intended. I watched their faces as they glanced at each other, a moment of shared relief. a moment only. The next instant, the door was flung open and a man burst in with D.C. Warren behind him.
My God, Marcus, how could you, you bastard?
Our cousin, Robin Boyton. He's staying in the guest cottage. Robin, this is Commander Dalgliesh of New Scotland Yard and his
You
colleagues.
cold-hearted bastard. My friend, a dear close friend, is dead. Murdered. And you didn't even have the decency to tell me. And here you all are, cozying up to the police, deciding to keep it all quiet. We mustn't upset Mr. Chandler Pole's valuable work, must we? And she's lying upstairs dead.
Now calm down,
You should have
Robin.
told me. I need to see her. I want to say goodbye.
I'm afraid that isn't possible, Mr. Boyton. Miss Gradwin's body has been taken to the mortuary.
But I did try to tell you, Robin. I called at the cottage just before 9, but you were obviously still asleep. Anyway, who knew you were such a close friend of Rhoda Gradwin? You once told us you knew her, but not that you were close.
Mr. Boyton, at present, I'm interviewing only those people who were in the house from the time Miss Gradwin arrived until her body was discovered. As a friend of hers, what you have to tell us will be helpful, but not now. I must ask you to leave.
Fine. As for you, Chandler Pole, nothing to say. She came here to have that scar removed, to make a new life for herself. She trusted you, you murdering bastard, and you killed her.
Without waiting for a response to his accusation of murder, Robin Boyton stalked out and slammed the door behind him. 5 seconds of silence followed. At last someone had said the word. The unbelievable, the grotesque, the horrifying had at last been acknowledged.
"Shall we get on?" I said. And for the next 20 minutes the recital of events on the previous day proceeded smoothly. Helena Cresset, who was in charge of running the manor, had welcomed Rhoda Gradwin on the Thursday evening and taken her directly to her room. Yesterday, Friday, Miss Cresset had worked in the office with her assistant, Candace Westall, till 7, and had then joined Sister Holland and Letitia Frensham for dinner. Marcus Westall, she'd been told, was in London, staying the night with a consultant he was hoping to work with in Africa. This morning, Saturday, Miss Cresset was already showered and dressed when Chandler Pole arrived to tell her that Rhoda Gradwin was dead. Letitia Frensham, who ran the manor's financial affairs, confirmed Helena Cresset's account of their evening together. Miss Westall?
Yes, it's just as Helena says. I was working in the office with her till dinner time. When we'd eaten, I went back to the office for a few minutes to tidy up, and I left the manor shortly after 10 to go back home to Stone Cottage.
Go on.
As I left, Mr. Chandler Pole was coming down the stairs and we said good night. This morning he rang to say Miss Gradwin had been found dead. Marcus and I came over at once.
So you'd come back from London, Mr. Westall?
Well, it seemed silly staying on. Matthew Greenfield and I finished dinner quite early, and then we chatted for a bit, and it was still only about 10 o'clock, so I decided to drive back home. I arrived around 12:30.
Sister Holland?
Miss Gradwin was taken to the operating theatre around mid-morning. The operation went very smoothly. As soon as it was over, the anaesthetist and the ancillary staff left the manor. She spent a few hours in recovery and was wheeled back to her room at 4:30 yesterday afternoon. She slept till about 7:30 and then she asked for a light meal. My room is at the end of the corridor and I looked in every hour to check on her until I went to bed myself at around midnight. My last visit was at 11. Miss Gradwin was asleep.
Mr. Chandler Pole's account agreed with hers. The operation had gone well, and he'd felt confident of an excellent result. He'd visited his patient last evening at about 10 o'clock. He'd been coming downstairs when he'd seen Candace Westall leaving the manor.
Throughout the proceedings, Sharon Bateman had been sitting very still, with a look on her face which could only be described as sulky. A.D. glanced at me, and I knew he wanted me to tackle her.
What about you, Sharon? What did you do yesterday evening?
Me? I helped Dean and Kim in the kitchen till 9ish. Then I went to my room and watched TV.
What did you see?
Can't remember. It's all rubbish anyway, isn't it?
So when did you hear about Miss Gradwin?
This morning, Sister Holland came and woke me up and told me. Then she said to get down to the kitchen as soon as possible to help out.
And you, Mr. and Mrs. Bostock, isn't it?
Dean and Kimberly Bostock sat very close together, and as Kimberly began, I saw him place his hand over hers. She started by saying how she'd been woken just before midnight last night by a phone call from Mrs. Skeffington, who'd asked for a cup of tea. Her husband had helped her carry up the tray. He never went into the patient's room, so he'd waited outside. Sister Holland broke in. "Your instructions are to call me if patients ask for anything in the night. Why didn't you?" Kimberly looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, sister. I did ask if she wanted to see you or Mr. Chandler Pole. She said no, and I didn't want to wake you unnecessarily." So far, there'd been no surprises. Now AD asked whether Dean or Kimberly Bostock had seen anything unusual while they were up. Dean said, "There's one thing, sir. When we got back to the ground floor, I saw that the door to the garden wasn't bolted. I knew that Mr. Chandler Pole normally bolts that door at 11, but sometimes it's a bit later if he goes out for a walk in the garden. I thought if I bolted it, he might be out there and not able to get back in." "And you noticed this on your return," said AD. "Not when you were helping your wife carry up the tea." "Just on our return," he said.
Mr. Chandler Pole, did you bolt that door at 11 last night?
I did. And I found it bolted at 6:30 this morning.
Did anyone here unbolt it for any purpose?
No.
You can all see the importance of this. No one? Well, did anyone notice that the door was either bolted or unbolted after 11?
No.
Very well. And that will be enough for now. I'll be seeing you all separately, either here or in the incident room at the old police cottage.
Commander Dalgliesh, I'd like a quick word with you if you can spare the time. The office, perhaps?
You too, Kate.
There's something I ought to say. You saw how embarrassed Kimberly was when asked why she hadn't woken Flavia Holland. I think it's likely she tried. The door to the suite wasn't locked, and if she or Dean partly opened it, they would have heard voices.
Whose voices?
Mine and Flavia's. I was with her at midnight.
I see.
The Bostocks may have felt awkward about telling you this, particularly with the others present.
I'll confirm that with the Bostocks later. How long were you together?
Until about 1 o'clock. There were things we needed to discuss. Some professional, some personal.
I got Kate to dig out the name of Rhoda Gradwin's solicitor, then phoned to ask him to meet us at Miss Gradwin's house in Sanctuary Court the following morning. I told him to bring along a copy of her will.
By 9:30 that Saturday night, the personal interviews were all completed, and Kimberly Bostock had been brought to admit that she had indeed overheard Mr. Chandler Pole arguing with Sister Holland in her room the previous night. After supper, served by Mrs. Shepherd, the landlady of the B&B where she and Benton were staying, Kate set out for the cottage that Dalgliesh had made his base. As she approached, Dalgliesh opened the door, unfamiliar for a second in an open-necked shirt and pullover. He'd pulled a couple of comfortable low chairs before the fire. On an oak coffee table stood an open bottle of wine, 2 glasses, and a plan of the manor.
My heart rose. This routine at the end of the day was like coming home. When the time came, as come it must, for me to accept promotion, these were the moments I'd miss. The warmth and security, the sense of being valued. I thought, briefly, of those other moments of security I'd once enjoyed with peers. I put the thought behind me.
Our problem is this. We have a group of 7 people in the manor, any of whom could have killed Rhoda Gradwin. All knew where she was sleeping, here, and all knew that the suites beyond, here, were unoccupied and provided a possible hiding place. They all knew where the latex gloves were kept, and all could have obtained keys to the west door. Suspects. If Marcus Westall didn't return to Stone Cottage till 12:30, he's probably in the clear, but he hasn't been able to provide a witness. He could have got back earlier.
Then there's Robin Boynton, sir. It's doubtful he knew where Rhoda Gradwin was sleeping, but he's the only one who knew her personally. And he admits that he booked into Rose Cottage because she was here.
If neither Chandler Pole nor Bostock was lying, and I don't think Bostock was, then someone in the house unbolted that door after 11 o'clock, either to leave the manor or to let someone in.
What about Helena Cresset? Her father once owned the manor. He was forced to sell after the Lloyds crash and Chandler Pole snapped it up. Rhoda Gradwin wrote some pretty vicious things about Cresset at the time, and he died not long afterwards. Perhaps Cresset's daughter bore a grudge and seized her opportunity.
Or perhaps Rhoda Gradwin wasn't the sole victim. Does someone bear a grudge against Chandler Pole? Did the murderer want to destroy the clinic, to ruin Chandler Pole?
The following morning, Sunday, Dalgliesh and Kate left Stoke Cheverel before 6 o'clock. They arrived in London before 9, stopped off briefly at the yard, and then drove in silence through the almost empty streets.
For me, as for many, Sunday morning in the city of London, the square mile that is the business hub of the country, holds a special appeal. The peace is profound. Even the river seems to flow more slowly. I thought, after Emma and I are married, this is the one place in London I'd like to live.
They found a parking space some 100 yards from Absolution Alley and set off on foot.
The narrow cobbled entrance under a stone arch would have been easy to miss. Number 8 was on the eastern side of the paved courtyard. The dark green door had been fitted with 2 security locks, but we found no difficulty in selecting the right keys from Rhoda Gradwin's bunch, and the door opened easily.
They entered a small oak-panelled room. A wooden, uncarpeted stair led to the first floor. Here at the front was a fully equipped modern kitchen with a small dining room behind it. They mounted the second flight and found a guest bedroom with twin beds and a small shower and toilet. Finally they moved to the top story and entered a room which ran the length of the house, with windows to both east and west, giving a panorama of the city.
Only here did I begin to feel that I was in mental touch with Rhoda Gradwin. It was in this room that she had lived, worked, rested, watched television, listened to music, needing no one and nothing that wasn't within these 4 walls. Her mahogany desk was to the left of an elegantly carved bookcase. Kate and I seated ourselves at it side by side. On the wall above us ran a shelf of box files, each neatly labelled, containing copies of all her press and magazine articles. You start at that end, Kate, and I'll work my way towards you. We settled down to work. For almost an hour, neither of us spoke.
This is interesting, sir.
Something about Cheverel Manor?
No. An article Rhoda Gradwin wrote back in 2002. Seems to have attracted an awful amount of attention. This is the article. And just look at the press cuttings that resulted.
Show me. The article was intelligent, well-written and meticulously researched. It dealt with cases of plagiarism, examples of writers copying other writers' work, sometimes lifting large chunks and passing it off as their own. Some of her cases were from the distant past, others more recent. The main contemporary case she covered was undoubtedly one of blatant plagiarism. Gradwin claimed that she had herself discovered it by chance. A young female novelist, still at university, Annabel Skelton, had produced a first novel. It had been widely praised and shortlisted for a major literary prize. In the article, Gradwin showed beyond doubt that phrases, paragraphs of dialogue, and powerful descriptive passages had been taken word for word from a work of fiction published in 1927 by a long-forgotten woman writer. The case was unanswerable, not least because of the quality of Gradwin's prose and the fairness of the article. It had appeared when the tabloids were short of news, and journalists had made the most of the scandal. There had been vociferous demands that Annabel Skelton's novel should be removed from the shortlist. The result of the furore that followed Rhoda Gradwin's article had been tragedy. 3 days after the article appeared, the girl had killed herself. This picture, taken at Annabel Skelton's graveside. Have a look.
Yes, sir. What of it?
That woman, third from the left. Recognise her?
Oh, just a second. I can't quite...
Here, use this.
Oh, my God, sir, you're right. It's Candace Westall.